Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm presenting today my project for the hashtag Makers Creative Collab, a YouTube hop hosted by PM Artist Studios Facebook group. This month the themes, you had two choices, was Arty Curiosities and or Arty Opposites. So what I decided to do is I was thinking of a Curiosities cabinet, and instead of doing a 3D make, which comes to my mind when I think of Cabinet of Curiosities, I decided to make a two-dimensional one. And I did it on a 14 by 14 piece of mixed media paper. And what I used to make my cabinet was this old scrapbooking template. You can see, let me line it up. There we go. So that's how I made it. So that's what dictated the size. You could do it smaller. You could make your own little frame, just piecing together some cardstock or whatever. And I'll insert a quick little video up here of how I made the actual base jelly print. So we're going back in time here. I just thought it'd be easier just to show a quick little video and explain it. And so this is my 14 by 12 jelly plate, and I just put on some black paint and some black flash, which has a hint of a green shift to it. And I used the tablecloth there. It's like a lacy tablecloth. It's actually a placemat, not a tablecloth. It's plastic, so I reuse it quite a bit. And I'm just using some paper to pick up the paint from the openings. And that's sort of the base of this. And then I'm adding, once it's dry, I add some metallic orange and some craft orange. And then I'm going to use this Sea of Crescent stencil from PM Artist Studios. I'll link their shop below. And I kind of didn't get the effect that I wanted, so I will use this stencil again in a minute. So once that's dry, I'm picking it up with some Titan Buff and some light rose or pink, portrait pink I think is, and a bit of a red craft paint. And I'm just kind of mixing it all up. I want sort of a mottled look. And I put the template on there. My hope was that it would pick up a lot of the paint from underneath, but I put so much paint on there it wasn't, picking up as much as I wanted. So I braided it off and I pressed it down really hard, and I looked again and it still wasn't doing what I wanted. So I thought, well, I'll wipe off the paint off that plastic and we'll put it back on. We'll line it up as best we can. And I squish it down and I leave it for quite a while. And then later I come back and I lift it up, and there's still not as much paint off for the grids as I wanted to make my little curio cabinet or cabinet of Arty Curiosities. So I decided just to take a baby wipe and I lightly lift off the paint from the grid lines. But I don't lift it all up. I leave, I don't push down all the way to the jelly plate. I leave like a little thin layer of the initial stages. And then once that's dry, I use this, it's like a blue, it's Mutant Shift. I think it's like a bottle paint, but it's got a nice purpley hue to it, and it's very flexible. I like it a lot. So then I'm putting down my mixed media paper, giving it a good rub. I let it sit for quite a while, I think probably like 15 minutes, and then I pull it up. After I lift that up, I find it's not as rich as I wanted it, so I add a layer of quinacridone nickel azul gold and the quinacridone magenta by Golden Fluids, and I put the stencil back on there, the template, and I just line it up by eye and put the just pick that up really quickly. I leave the stencil on there and I add a layer of the dioxazine purple, also by Golden, and I just smush around with the that crescent stencil again to get those crescenty shapes in there. Once that's dry, I'll remove the template, that scrapbooking template, and I do my final pickup using the Color Shift Pastel Green by Folk Art. And I let it sit for quite a while, probably 50 minutes, and then I'm happy with it. And I like how there's that red, hint of red around each box. So to add a bit more depth to it, I decide to use my black Posca with the template in place. I just make my lines, and before it dries I just smudge it a bit with a baby wipe, so I don't remove it all, but I just soften it. And then so I did that for each square, and then I added a bit of that Mutant Shift purple color to the parts of the paper that were still white, and I edged the edge of it with black Posca to kind of distress it a bit, and I add a little bit more purple paint to make it a little bit blend in a bit better, and there you have it. And that's how I made the base for my cabinet of arty curiosities. So I wanted to keep the edges here nice and light, and I tried to give a sense of depth to it. So I did add a little bit of shading in the back and around the elements. Now the elements are inspired by Brooke at Recreations by Brooke, and I'll link her channel below. She did a series, and she's doing a new series inspired by Creepy Baby, and that's always freaked me out. Like I have, I think it's from watching scary movies in the 80s or 70s or something. So I have a sort of a phobia, it's a light phobia of dolls, creepy dolls, vintage toys, and clowns. So I took those elements and I put them in my Arty Curiosity cabinet. And I combined them with some little objects, you know, bugs, and here's like a sickle I added, a frog, just some things. This is like one of those Jello molds you had. This piece here was sent to me by CB. Some of you might know her from different online live chats. And she sent me some awesome Halloween ephemera, and this one came just in time to make it onto this little collage. And this is mostly copy paper. So quite a few of the images are from this book, Extraordinary Things to Cut and Collage. And what I did is I actually, instead of using the original images, which is a really great paper, it would have been great to use those. I do like using these toys, creepy toys for Halloween. So I'm just trying to find the page. What I did is I scanned it into my computer, and then that way I can print it out in different sizes and cut it out and use it. Here it is. I had already cut out a few elements, but I had already scanned it. I think this creepy baby here was over here, but I already scanned it in my computer. So that's where these creepy toys come from, a lot of them. Some of the other elements come from this collage book. It's sort of a picture source book. I got this at a secondhand store, and it's copyright-free images. So you can see this girl here that I used was in black and white. Some of the images were in color. So for example, I scanned them. I think this lady was in color and this guy was in color, but this one here was in black and white. So I printed on copy paper and I just colorized it using alcohol markers. And around each one, I did shade with some Pip Pen, and I used a little bit of Inktense to give like the illusion that it's actually a box. I could have spent more time giving it more depth, but this kind of got the theme across, and I was pretty happy with it. So thanks for watching. Again, this is a YouTube hop for Makers Creative Collab, and at the end of my video, you'll see a link to the next video in the hop, and there'll be a list of all the videos in the description box. Thanks again for PM Artist Studios for hosting this through their Facebook group, and thanks for Texture Junkies for organizing all us creatives, and I hope you all enjoyed the hop. Bye!